on gas right now, are they investing the right amount? Are they investing too much or too little for the transition to green?
I think for the transition, it is where we are. So about this year, the fossil fuel investments are close to $1 trillion US dollar. But it could be only meaningful, it could be only provide as a secure energy world if we were at the same time made major investments in clean energy. Because the global energy demand will grow. The world will need a lot of energy. The question is, are we going to get this energy from fossil fuels or from clean energy? So this is the decision that we have to make. Currently, we are in between. We invest in both of them, but not enough.
Do you have analysis of like $1, for example, in old fossil fuel needs to be like $5 to spend?
Today, just very simple. Today, there is $1 investment cost of fossil fuels, and $1.50 goes for clean energy. To have a secure and clean energy future, this $1 for fossil fuel should continue, but $1.50 for clean energy needs to go to $9. So there is a need for 6 times of an increase for clean energy investment, which is the topic of here, COP27.
What happens to the price of oil? Is it going to be high enough, even at this level, it's quite high, to cause a recession or to plunge us even more into a recession?
So we know that the world is about to, in many markets, slide to a recession. In that respect, the recent decision of OPEC Plus to cut the production by 2 million barrels per day was definitely not helpful. So we are going to see main economies such as China, how they are going to perform. If Chinese economy was to rebound next year, we may still see some tightness in the markets. But in any case, oil prices approaching to $100, nobody can defend that this is a helpful move to decrease the production by 2 million barrels per day, because it is causing inflation, economic weakness, especially in developing and emerging countries.
Are you calling on OPEC Plus to reverse those cuts?
In the past, I mean, the decision, the recent decision of cutting 2 million barrels per day, in my view, as somebody who followed the OPEC Plus countries since years, was unprecedented. When they, of course, countries wanted to see higher prices, but when they understood that the world was about to go to a recession, they behaved much more responsibly and comfort the markets. But this time it was the opposite. So as such, there may be a merit to rethink about that very decision of cutting 2 million barrels per day.
Unprecedented because you believe this was politically motivated?
I think this is what, when you look at the global energy landscape, geopolitical context, almost all the countries, in the developing countries, emerging countries, advanced economies, they all wanted to see a good news, comforting news from the OPEC Plus countries. Unfortunately, they didn't receive this.
Talk to me a little bit about gas. So there's a mad dash, really, especially from European countries, to get into LNG to have enough fuel for the winter months. What does that mean for the transition?
This is a very good question. I mean, this winter, which was very much the nightmare for many Europeans, seems that Europe can go through this winter with some economic and social bruises here and there, because we have put a lot of gas in the storage. 95% is full. But now there is also next winter, which may be harder for 3 reasons. One reason is we were able to put a lot of gas in the storage because we still in Europe get gas from Russia, which may not be with us next year. Second, again, the China factor. China is the top LNG importer of the world. Since Chinese economy was not doing well, for the first time since decades, Chinese LNG imports declined, providing a room for Europe to get LNG. But if China rebounds next year, China may well again get a lot of LNG, and this is bad news. And third one is that this is very important. Next year, the amount of new LNG capacity coming to the market is 20 BCM, which is one of the lowest in the last 15 years.
I mean, it's the lowest, but it still extends the life of fossil fuels.
Yes, definitely. It is extends, but this 1 or 2 next few years, we will still need gas in order to substitute the Russian gas, because we are not adding, we are substituting the Russian gas, which will lose a lot of market share. Please think about this. 24th of February, Russia was selling 75% of this gas to Europe and lost it, maybe lost it forever. So therefore, there is a need for Europe to substitute this gas in the short term, and LNG is one of the answers to that.
Who is actually buying Russian oil and gas right now?
I think Russian oil today, many countries are buying, but the increase in the Russian oil imports mainly come from China and India. But it is not unlimited. There will be a limit to that, and Russia was exporting about 2.5 million barrels per day of oil to Europe, and all of this oil, to find a new home, will be impossible. So for gas and oil, when we look at both of them, I think Russia's role in the future will be much more diminished compared to today.
But again, you look at data that really shows us what kind of recession. So we have central banks trying to almost put us in a recession to make sure that inflation comes down. Are you seeing any of those signs in oil demand?
Definitely. Oil, electricity, electricity demand is always a good indicator, an early indicator. I think in some parts of the world, especially in Europe, we may see a recession, but this may go other parts of the world. But once again, our attention is mainly focused on the advanced economies, but the countries who would suffer the most as a result of this decision of cutting the oil, inflation going up, will be the emerging countries, energy importing emerging countries in Africa, where we are here, but also Asia and Latin America.